If you are over 60 and living with neuropathy pain, burning feet, or that constant tingling in your hands and legs, stop for a moment and listen carefully. I hear this question almost every week in my clinic. Doctor, the pain is so bad I can barely stand up. How could walking possibly help me? Just recently, a 71-year-old patient asked me the same thing. He had been managing his neuropathy with medications for 3 years, painful burning at night, numbness in both feet. He had stopped walking entirely because he was convinced movement made things worse. What surprised him was this. Walking was the one thing that could actually slow his nerve damage down. New research shows that one very common mistake people with neuropathy make, especially adults over 60, can accelerate nerve damage by months or even years, right at the moment when intervention is most powerful. I'm Dr. Maria Hernandez, and in this video, I will explain that mistake, why most people overlook it, and the 5 proven ways that walking 20 minutes daily transforms your neuropathy pain so you can take back control of your life. Before we dive in, drop a comment with your age and where you're watching from today. Have you been avoiding walking because of neuropathy pain? Are you relying only on medication to manage your symptoms? Write your answer below because your experience helps our entire community. And hit that subscribe button because I share life-saving health strategies like this every week to help you thrive after 60. Most people believe that if their feet are burning, tingling, or going numb, the last thing they should do is put more stress on them. But in adults over 60 with neuropathy, that assumption is often making things dramatically worse. Neuropathy is unique among conditions. In its early and middle stages, when intervention is most effective, the nerves in your body are still capable of regeneration and improved circulation. Without movement, that window closes. Here is the problem. As we age, our circulation naturally decreases. Our nerves become more vulnerable. Our blood sugar control weakens. Each year of inactivity compounds nerve damage. Peripheral neuropathy affects more than 20 million Americans, and the majority are over the age of 60. I saw this clearly with one of my patients named Robert, age 74. He had diabetic neuropathy for 5 years. He felt burning pain in both feet every single night. He had stopped walking to the mailbox. He used a chair in the shower. His world had shrunk to a few rooms inside his house. His wife drove him everywhere because he no longer trusted his own footing. When he finally came to see me, Robert looked defeated. He assumed this was simply what aging with diabetes looked like. What most people do not realize is that neuropathy pain is not just about damaged nerves. It is also about blood flow, inflammation, nerve fiber density, and muscle support around those nerves. All 4 of those factors respond directly to walking. Robert did not need more medication. He needed a movement protocol that was safe, gradual, and consistent. Within 8 weeks of starting a structured 20-minute daily walk, his nighttime burning decreased by almost half. Within 4 months, he was walking to the park near his house again. In older adults, avoiding movement often means choosing short-term comfort over long-term nerve health. This is why so many seniors with neuropathy find their condition worsening year after year despite medication. Now, here is where the first major mistake happens. Most seniors with neuropathy rely entirely on pain medication to manage their condition. They assume that pills are the only treatment. They wait for their prescription to do all the work while their nerves continue to deteriorate beneath the surface. But in people over 60, this approach alone often does not work. Neuropathy management requires intentional physical activity, not just symptom suppression. With age, the capillaries that feed your peripheral nerves become narrower. Blood flow to nerve endings decreases. Without stimulation from movement, small nerve fibers in the feet and legs begin to die back faster. Medication can reduce pain signals. It cannot rebuild nerve fiber density. It cannot improve circulation to damaged nerves. It cannot strengthen the muscles that support damaged areas. This is not rare. It is extremely common. That 71-year-old patient I mentioned earlier was taking his neuropathy medication every single day. He was doing everything his previous doctor told him to do, yet his condition was worsening because the one thing that could help repair and maintain nerve health was missing. When we implemented the proper walking protocol, not just medication management, His nerve conduction scores improved for the first time in 3 years. This is why what you do with your body matters just as much as what you put into it. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and hit that like button. It really supports the channel and helps us reach more seniors who need this information. Now, let us talk about the first proven method, and this one is more powerful than most people expect. Method number 1. Walking stimulates nerve fiber regeneration. If you look at most people's understanding of neuropathy, they believe it is a one-way road. Nerves get damaged, they do not come back. That assumption is outdated, and it is costing people their quality of life. Research published in major neurology journals now confirms that aerobic exercise, including low-impact walking, actually stimulates the regrowth of small nerve fibers in the skin and feet. This is called intraepidermal nerve fiber density improvement. In simple terms, your body can grow back some of the nerve endings that neuropathy has destroyed, but only if you give it the right stimulus. Walking does 3 things for nerve regeneration that no pill currently does. First, it increases blood flow to peripheral nerves, delivering the oxygen and nutrients nerve fibers need to survive and regrow. Second, it triggers the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a protein that directly supports nerve growth and repair. Third, it activates sensory feedback loops that keep existing nerve fibers stimulated and functional. I saw this with a patient named Catherine, age 67. She had chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy from breast cancer treatment 2 years earlier. Both feet were constantly numb. She could not feel the floor beneath her. She had fallen twice in 6 months. Her oncologist had told her the numbness was permanent. She accepted that. She stopped trying. When she came to my clinic, I explained that while some nerve damage from chemotherapy is permanent, some is not. We started her on a 10-minute daily walking program on a flat surface with proper footwear. Over 90 days, we increased it to 20 minutes. At her 6-month follow-up, her nerve conduction study showed measurable improvement in sensory response. She had not fallen once. She could feel the difference between carpet and hardwood floors again. She told me she had not felt that much sensation in her feet in over 2 years. That improvement came from walking, not from a new medication, not from a procedure, from 20 minutes of daily movement. The key lesson here is simple. Your nerves are not static. They are living tissue that responds to stimulation. When you walk consistently, you give your nervous system the signal that it needs to maintain and repair itself. Method number 2. Walking reduces the inflammatory signals. Driving your pain. Many people either avoid all physical activity or do it sporadically. They feel some pain relief one day, skip the next 3, then wonder why the pain comes back stronger. Neuropathy inflammation does not respond to inconsistency. Your nerve environment does not care about your bad days. Inflammation builds whether you address it or not. I saw this pattern clearly with a 69-year-old patient named James. He had idiopathic peripheral neuropathy with severe burning in both lower legs. He had tried walking twice in the previous year when his pain felt manageable. Both times he stopped after a few days because the discomfort increased initially. He concluded that walking made him worse. When he came to see me, I explained something critical about neuropathy and exercise that most people are never told. In the first 3 to 7 days of starting a walking program, some people experience a temporary increase in awareness of their symptoms. This is not nerve damage getting worse. This is your nervous system waking up. Increased blood flow to previously understimulated nerves can briefly amplify sensory signals before it begins to calm them down. James was quitting right at the turning point. He never gave his body enough time to reach the anti-inflammatory benefits on the other side. Here is what the research tells us. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the primary drivers of neuropathic pain. Inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers in your blood, attack peripheral nerve sheaths and amplify pain signals. Regular aerobic exercise, particularly walking, measurably reduces circulating inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. These are the same chemicals driving your burning pain. When they decrease, pain decreases with them. For most seniors with neuropathy, The critical threshold is consistency past the first 2 weeks. James committed to a gentle 15-minute daily walk for 21 days without stopping. His pain initially increased slightly in days 4 and 5. By day 12, it began dropping. By day 21, he reported his worst nighttime burning had decreased from an 8 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. After 6 weeks, he was sleeping through the night for the first time in 2 years. The exact duration and pace depends on personal tolerance, but the essential principle holds across all types of neuropathy. Walking reduces the inflammatory environment that keeps your nerves in a constant state of pain signaling. The exact schedule should always be discussed with your physician, particularly if you have balance issues or significant foot numbness. But together, movement and medical management are far more powerful than either approach alone. Now let me walk you through the third proven method. This is the approach I use with my own patients who come to me with severe neuropathy. Method number 3. Walking improves blood sugar control, cutting off neuropathy's primary fuel. For most seniors with diabetic neuropathy, the single most destructive ongoing force is blood sugar that remains consistently elevated. High glucose levels coat nerve fibers in a process called glycation. Glycation damages the protective myelin sheath around nerves. It reduces blood flow through the tiny capillaries that feed nerve endings. It creates oxidative stress that kills nerve tissue over time. Here is what makes walking so powerful for this specific mechanism. A single 20-minute walk after a meal can reduce postprandial blood glucose, meaning blood sugar after eating, by 20 to 30 points. Consistently walking daily improves insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond better to insulin and require less of it to absorb glucose. Over weeks and months, daily walking can lower your HbA1c, your 3-month blood sugar average, by 0.5 to 1.5 points. That is a clinically significant reduction that directly slows neuropathy progression. I had a patient aged 73 who followed this combined protocol. Her routine medication management was stabilizing her pain, but not improving it. Her endocrinologist had warned her that her HbA1c of 8.1 was still damaging her nerves every single day. When we added a 20-minute post-dinner walk to her routine, something shifted. Her blood sugar readings began dropping within 2 weeks. By month 3, her HbA1c fell to 7.2. Her neuropathy pain scores dropped alongside it. Her feet still tingled, but the burning at night became less frequent and less intense. That walking routine gave her something no medication adjustment alone had achieved: better glucose control at the cellular level, directly reducing the ongoing nerve damage driving her pain. At this point, it is important to understand one critical truth. Walking is powerful, but it requires safety modifications for people with significant neuropathy. There are situations where unmodified walking can actually create new problems. One of the most common issues is foot injury from reduced sensation. If you cannot feel your feet properly, you may not notice a blister, a small cut, or uneven pressure developing into a wound. Another overlooked factor is balance. Neuropathy frequently disrupts proprioception, your body's sense of where your limbs are in space. Walking on uneven surfaces significantly increases fall risk. Inflammation is another silent contributor. Some seniors with neuropathy have underlying inflammatory conditions like autoimmune disorders that require specific exercise modifications. There is also the issue of footwear. Walking in unsupportive or poorly fitting shoes with neuropathy dramatically increases injury risk and can worsen outcomes. This is why your walking program should always be reviewed by a medical professional before you begin, particularly if you have lost significant feeling in your feet, have open wounds or ulcers, have a history of falls, or have severe balance problems. Method number 4. Recognizing how walking changes your specific neuropathy symptoms over time. Many seniors dismiss gradual improvements as insignificant. Burning feels slightly less intense and they think it does not count. Tingling shifts location and they assume the condition is changing for the worse. Understanding what improvement actually looks like in neuropathy is essential so you do not give up during the progress phase. Here is what you should watch for as walking begins to help. Burning pain that shifts from constant to intermittent, meaning it comes and goes instead of never stopping. That is improvement. tingling that decreases in intensity even if it has not disappeared entirely. That is improvement. Nighttime symptoms that become less severe, allowing longer stretches of sleep. That is significant improvement. Improved ability to feel the ground beneath your feet when walking. That is nerve regeneration. Reduced frequency of cramping or spasms in the calves and feet. That is improved circulation. Greater confidence when walking, less fear of falling. That is sensory and muscular improvement together. I saw this clearly with a 65-year-old patient named Linda. She had been walking for 6 weeks and came to my office frustrated. "Doctor, I still feel tingling every day. I do not think this is working." I asked her a series of specific questions. "Are you sleeping better?" "Yes, actually." "Is the burning waking you up as often at night?" "No, maybe half as often." "Can you walk to your mailbox without holding on to something?" "Yes, I noticed that last week." Linda had significant measurable improvements in all 3 areas. But because the tingling was still present, she had convinced herself nothing was changing. She was looking for complete symptom elimination. I explained that neuropathy recovery is measured in increments, not in sudden transformations. She had been expecting a light switch. Nerve recovery is a dimmer dial. Once she understood what to track, her entire experience shifted. She stopped defining progress as no tingling and started defining it as better sleep, better balance, less burning. Within another 6 weeks, she reported that her quality of life had improved dramatically even though she still had some residual symptoms. The key principle is this: do not measure neuropathy recovery by the presence of symptoms alone. Measure it by the frequency, intensity, and functional impact of those symptoms. Improvements in those 3 dimensions represent real nerve and circulation progress, even when some symptoms remain. Method number 5, lifestyle synergy, how walking activates every other neuropathy treatment you are already using. This surprises most seniors because it reframes walking not as a standalone treatment, but as a multiplier for everything else they are doing. Walking does not compete with your medication, it enhances it. Walking does not replace dietary changes, it amplifies them. Walking does not make supplements unnecessary, it creates the physiological environment where supplements can actually work. Here is why this synergy matters. Neuropathy medications like gabapentin, pregabalin, or duloxetine work by modulating pain signals in the nervous system. They work better when inflammation is lower. Walking reduces inflammation. Alpha-lipoic acid, one of the most studied supplements for neuropathic pain, works by reducing oxidative stress on nerve tissue. It works better when circulation to peripheral nerves is higher. Walking improves circulation. B12 supplementation supports myelin sheath repair around nerve fibers. It works better when the blood flow delivering those nutrients to damaged areas is optimal. Walking optimizes that blood flow. A 66-year-old patient named Thomas came to my office with a complex neuropathy picture. He had type 2 diabetes with poor control. His HbA1c was 8.4. He was 45 pounds overweight. His inflammatory markers were significantly elevated. His C-reactive protein was more than 4 times the normal range. He had been on gabapentin for 2 years with only partial relief. He felt like nothing was working. We sat down and had a long conversation about synergy. I explained that his medication was fighting uphill against a body full of inflammation, poor circulation, and elevated blood sugar. His gabapentin was doing its job, but the environment it was working in was undermining everything. We focused on 3 parallel areas. First, we started a walking program at just 10 minutes per day on a flat surface with proper diabetic footwear. No hills, no uneven terrain, just consistent daily movement. Second, we adjusted his diet to reduce glycemic load, cutting sugary drinks, refined carbohydrates, and processed foods while increasing leafy greens, fatty fish, and anti-inflammatory spices like turmeric and ginger. Third, we added alpha-lipoic acid supplementation after confirming it was appropriate given his other medications. Within 6 weeks, his walking had increased to 20 minutes daily. He was sleeping better. He had lost 11 pounds. His fasting blood sugar had dropped 18 points. His nighttime burning had decreased from a 9 to a 5. At his 4-month follow-up, the transformation was remarkable. His HbA1c had fallen to 7.3. He had lost 28 pounds. His C-reactive protein had dropped from 9.1 to 2.3. His gabapentin dose had been reduced because his pain was now manageable at a lower level. Thomas told me something I hear regularly from patients who commit to this approach. He said, "I was waiting for a better pill. What I actually needed was to make the pills I already had more effective." Research clearly shows that combining consistent aerobic walking with anti-inflammatory nutrition, blood sugar control, appropriate supplementation, and medication management produces results that no single intervention achieves alone. Studies show that regular walking can reduce peripheral neuropathy symptom severity scores by 25 to 40% over 12 to 16 weeks in patients who maintain consistency. Improved blood sugar control through exercise reduces ongoing nerve glycation, the primary driver of diabetic neuropathy progression. Anti-inflammatory eating combined with walking reduces the cytokine activity that drives constant pain signaling. Proper sleep, improved through reduced pain levels, supports the overnight nerve repair processes that happen during deep sleep cycles. The beautiful thing about walking is that every step you take supports every other treatment in your protocol. When you walk, your blood sugar improves. When your blood sugar improves, less glycation damages your nerves. When glycation decreases, inflammation drops. When inflammation drops, your medication works more effectively. When your medication works more effectively, you sleep better. When you sleep better, your body repairs nerve tissue during the night. It is a positive cycle that builds momentum with every consistent day. But here is what I want you to understand clearly. This does not replace your medical care. It works with your medical care to produce results that medication alone cannot achieve. I have seen patients who walked diligently but continued eating high-sugar diets and wondered why improvements were limited. I have seen patients who perfected their diet but refused to walk because of fear and saw their neuropathy continue declining. The optimal approach combines both. Before we end, I want to leave you with one final thought. A woman in her early 70s came to see me after years of accepting neuropathy as an inevitable decline. Her name was Margaret. She had watched her husband become wheelchair-bound from severe diabetic neuropathy a decade earlier. His experience had convinced her that her own neuropathy diagnosis 5 years ago was a one-way door. She believed there was nothing to be done. She took her medication. She sat more. She moved less. She had quietly given up. When Margaret finally came to my office, it was because her daughter insisted. Her daughter had recently started reading evidence-based research on neuropathy and exercise. She printed out 3 studies. She practically placed them in her mother's hands on the way to the appointment. Margaret sat in my office with her arms crossed. She was skeptical. She expected me to lecture her about things she had already heard. Instead, we had a conversation. I asked about her husband's experience with neuropathy. I asked what she understood about nerve regeneration. I asked what scared her most about walking with numb feet. What I heard was not stubbornness. It was grief. She had watched someone she loved lose his independence to this condition. She had decided, unconsciously, that loving him meant sharing his fate. After we reviewed the evidence together, everything she believed needed updating. Yes, neuropathy is serious, but it is not uniformly progressive when properly managed. Yes, her husband's case had been severe, but treatment options and understanding today are far better than a decade ago. Yes, walking with numb feet carries risks, but with proper footwear, flat surfaces, and gradual progression, those risks are manageable and far smaller than the risk of continuing to decline. Margaret's whole perspective shifted during that conversation. She realized that accepting limitation was not honoring her husband's struggle. It was surrendering to it unnecessarily. She started a walking program the following week. 10 minutes on flat ground around her kitchen and living room for the first 3 days. Then outside on the sidewalk in front of her house with her neighbour walking alongside her. She invested in proper diabetic walking shoes. She checked her feet every evening for any signs of irritation. She committed to going out every single day regardless of how she felt before starting. She learned to distinguish between the discomfort of nerves waking up and actual pain requiring her to stop. She made dietary changes that reduced her inflammatory burden. She eliminated soda completely. She added salmon to her diet twice a week. She started using turmeric in her cooking after learning about its anti-inflammatory properties. She reduced her bread and pasta intake and replaced them with sweet potatoes and brown rice. She lost 14 pounds over 5 months. She learned to track real neuropathy improvements, not zero tingling, but better sleep, less intense burning, improved balance, greater confidence on stairs, ability to feel the shower floor again. She kept a simple daily log, rating her pain from 1 to 10 each morning and each night. Watching that number trend downward over weeks became its own motivation. 14 months later, Margaret called my office to report something she had not expected when she started. She was walking 25 minutes every morning. Her nighttime burning had decreased from a daily occurrence to 2 or 3 nights per week at most. Her balance had improved enough that she had returned to her weekly gardening, something she had given up 2 years earlier. Her HbA1c had dropped from 7.8 to 6.9. Her medication dose had been reduced. She had not fallen once. She told me something I will never forget. She said, "I used to think neuropathy just took things from you and you just had to accept it. I thought my husband's story was going to be my story. Now I understand that there is more I can influence than I ever believed. I cannot reverse everything, but I can slow it down. I can improve it. Walking gave me that. If I had kept sitting and waiting, I would be where he was much sooner." Margaret's voice was steady when she said that. She was not the frightened, resigned woman who had first sat across from me. She was someone who had taken action and seen it work. That is the difference between accepting neuropathy as destiny and actively managing it as a condition that responds to what you do every day. Resignation is not a strategy. 20 minutes is a strategy. Consistency is a strategy. Knowledge is a strategy. Movement is a strategy. If you are over 60 and living with neuropathy, walking every day is not optional if you want to protect your nerve health. But how you approach it matters enormously. A haphazard approach where you walk once in a while, stop when discomfort increases, or skip weeks at a time will not produce results. A consistent approach where you build gradually, protect your feet, track your improvements, and combine walking with dietary and medical management gives you the best possible chance at real symptom reduction. I encourage you to look at your current neuropathy management tonight, not next week. Tonight. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I doing everything possible to slow nerve damage and reduce pain, or am I waiting for a medication to do all the work? If you are waiting, it is time to change that approach. Start tomorrow morning. Even 5 minutes. Even around your living room. Wear the right shoes. Check your feet afterward. Build from there. Your nerves are still capable of responding. Your circulation still responds to movement. Your body is still listening to what you ask it to do. Early-stage neuropathy that is actively managed looks very different from late-stage neuropathy that was left to progress unchallenged. The difference between those outcomes is often daily movement, consistently chosen. Before you go, comment below with your age and where you're watching from. Tell me which neuropathy symptoms are bothering you most and whether you have been avoiding walking because of pain or fear. Are you going to commit to 10 minutes tomorrow? Are you going to talk to your doctor about a walking protocol this week? Are you going to check your feet tonight and invest in proper footwear? I read every comment and love hearing from our community. Your commitment might inspire someone else watching this video to take their first step, literally. If this video helped you understand something important about your neuropathy and what walking can do, share it with someone you care about. Send it to a friend who has been sitting more and moving less. Share it with a family member managing diabetes or chemotherapy side effects. Post it somewhere other seniors can find it. Many people with neuropathy believe movement is the enemy. They think pain means stop. They think numbness means rest. All of those beliefs may be silently worsening their condition. Help spread accurate information that changes lives. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more life-changing health tips designed specifically for seniors. We cover topics like diabetes management, heart health, balance and fall prevention, brain health, nutrition, and so much more. Every video is designed to give you actionable information you can use immediately to improve your health and longevity. Remember, neuropathy responds to what you do every day, but only if you take action. Knowledge without action changes nothing. I'm Dr. Maria Hernandez. Stay strong, stay moving, and I'll see you in the next video.